Alright guys, today I'm going to be doing a battle video, which I haven't done in a while, but these two really deserve to be compared against each other. I think this is the perfect comparison. First we have your Kizer Sheepdog in micarta and 154 cm. The 10V version might have been a better choice, but price-wise this fits the bill a little bit better. And this will be going up against the CJRB Caldera. As we do this, you're going to kind of see why. This battle is in no way, shape, or form sponsored by Loachman Ultra. So the battle today is going to be based on 7 categories. That's aesthetics, fit and finish, blade, ergonomics, carry factor, fidget factor, and value. It'll also be based on a 0-1-2 system. Therefore, 2 being you decimated the opponent in this category, 1 being you won the category, and 0 being you either lost or I don't have a clear winner for the category. Now these are 2 wildly different looks despite being relatively similar, just because this is the G10 with those bright colors and a beautiful accent, and this is more of your earthy, natural look with this tumble finish as opposed to just that straight black blade. For me, I actually prefer more of a neutral tumble finish than I do the hard colors, the hard accent, the bright red, the shiny black on the blade. So for me, I'm gonna give 1 to the Kizer Sheepdog for aesthetics. I don't think it kills it in aesthetics, and aesthetics is the only one I will really try not to compare 2 knives that I think one's ugly as sin and the other one's gorgeous, so that it doesn't skew the point system too badly. Second category, fit and finish. Now, I really have no fit and finish issues with the Sheepdog at all. Accessing the liner, there's no pivot movement there. Everything feels solid. The pocket clip is very well done. It's put in there nicely. You know, I don't think I have any complaints with the Sheepdog as far as fit and finish goes, but they're not doing anything exceptional, such as like putting a Maikuti inlay in there or something like that, right? Not that you would expect it, but there's nothing really exceptional about it, but there's no issues. The CJRB Caldera is relatively similar. Now, we do have a seam here that is difficult to get at, but you can kind of see with the naked eye just barely, but I don't know that I can fault that. I mean, it's 2 seams. I can't even feel it with my nail through the glove, so I don't know that it's really worth talking about. These screws are flat, but they're kind of sitting slightly protruding of the scales, and I'm not a huge fan of that. I wish they would actually be recessed just a little bit like every other screw here. The pivot collar looks pretty nice. The pocket clip is tight in there. There's no gaps in that backspacer. There's no back and forth. There's no up and down. Accessing the liner is pretty damn easy, and that feels good, and there's no grindy sounds or anything in the action. For the reasons of a simple screw and the fact that I can kind of see a lip there even though I can't feel it, I have to give 1 more point to the Kizer Sheepdog here, making it 2-0. Let's knock this one out of the park right now. Carry factor. First and foremost, this Sheepdog is much thinner, and it's even a little shorter. That alone is going to make it an easier carry. The fact that they both have deep carry pocket clips, the pocket clips work just fine. You know what? The Sheepdog's got to get another win. And it's not a significant win, but because it wins in both width and length, I'm going to give it 2 more points. 2 more points for the Sheepdog, making it a 4-0 situation. Let's talk about fidget factor. So the Sheepdog is damn near drop shut, but keep in mind that's had time to break in. This is one of those knives that I absolutely love. So, you know, for that reason, you got to really get the drop shut out of the brakes. It did not come like that. It did have to break in. The Caldera is not drop shut. Let's get you out of the way. But you can tell it's going to break in similar, and you do have this flipper tab. The fact that you have the flipper tab and both of these have basically holes for flipping and opening, I'm actually going to give 1 point to the Caldera because you have 1 extra ability to open the knife. Therefore, you know, it makes it more fidgety, I guess. Giving it a 1 to 4 system right now. Let's jump right into ergonomics. Now, the ergonomics on the Sheepdog never wowed me. These aren't something that was wowed. On the Sheepdog XL, it feels great. On the regular size Sheepdog, they feel good, but not great. Now, this is where the Caldera starts to come back a little bit. In hand, this feels really good. And guess what? This choke up position feels really, really good. So, you know, I mean, while the Sheepdog isn't bad, the Caldera, in my opinion, is really good. Usually one that loses the carry factor has a strong chance of winning the ergonomics because it's wider, it gives you a little bit more to grip. But that's not why. This design just works. And even though it's relatively neutral, it does feel like it forces you into a couple positions, and I actually appreciate the positions that it throws you in. Giving us a 4 to 3 situation for the Kizer Sheepdog after 5 categories. There's only 2 left. The last 2 that probably matter more than damn near anything is the blade and value. So the blade, these are both extremely thin blade stocks, and as you can see, damn near the same. I would literally argue that these are probably the same blade stock. Now, because they're the same, the Caldera actually has something that the Sheepdog doesn't, and that's a full flat grind. This is actually going to be a little bit better of a slicer than the Sheepdog. Even though I like the Sheepdog, this flat grind doesn't start till right here. Now, you do have this point right here to do some work, but guess what? The Caldera is even more like, hey, put your finger here, and you have a longer point with more of a point, not only to puncture, but to get some work done. On the flip side, you do have 154 cm on the Sheepdog, while you have ARR RPM 9 or AR RPM 9 blade steel on the Caldera. What is AR RPM 9? What is that? Kind of like the powder form of 9CR, which is a step down from 154. So you're sacrificing some blade steel, but you're getting a much better geometry, in my opinion. And honestly, for that geometry, I gotta give it 1 point. Not only for the puncture tasks, but for the slight. It's better slicer, guys. So I'm going to give it 1 point, not because of just blade steel, because in my eyes, blade steel has meant a lot less to me these days than geometry. I mean, the geometry of this is really, really good. Now, don't get me wrong, the Sheepdog's good, but that's like saying the Spyderco Tenacious and 8CR 13 MOV is a garbage knife because it's an 8CR. It's not. Or 8CR 14, rather. It's not. It's a wicked, slicey frickin' thing. But you are getting 8CR, so, you know, is what it is. But due to that geometry, it's still going to cut even when it's dull. That's kind of the point here. So it makes it a tie ball game up until this point. After 6 categories, we are now tied 4-4. And this is where the rubber meets the road, guys. Value. Before we get into this, let me say these both have a really, really good value. And if you ended up with either one of these, you're going to be pretty damn happy. But with the Kizer, you're getting 154 cm. This really cool stonewash finish, black micarta with the recessed scales. Look at that. Oh yeah. And just a really good design overall, and it breaks in and it looks like that. Kizer, this is literally one of your best knives to date ever, in my opinion, is the Sheepdog. It is phenomenal. I really want to feel the mini roach, and we're going to see what happens there. But the Caldera is kind of like that roach, right? It's a version. If you look at the blade shape, it looks very, very similar. So for 80 bucks, that's what you're getting here. What are you getting with the Caldera? You're getting the AR RPM 9 blade steel, which is pretty darn good for the budget category. This beautiful full flat grind blade that looks pretty cool. Some G10 with some more G10. It's like G10 inside G10 inside G10, you know, some Inception style shit. But it's pretty cool. And you're also getting an aluminum accent backspacer and pivot collar on both sides. I appreciate that. You're getting this deep carry pocket clip, which is ambidextrous, but you know, it's your typical clip that works really, really well. Some outstanding ergonomics and what I expect to be pretty darn good action eventually. You could already feel if I open the liner, watch, it just drops. It's just going to take a little bit of breaking in on that DLC coating, and you're going to have a killer knife. And guess what? This is coming in at $50 on White Mountain Knives. Now, sold out right now, but it will come back. And for $45, using my promo code EEDC, you can get this knife. For $72, using my promo code EEDC, you can get that knife. Which one takes it down? Guys, $30 is a lot. This is almost, actually it is, 80% more. This is 180% the cost of this. For that reason alone, this almost isn't even considered a budget knife in some people's categories, while this still is in that budget category and very reasonable, very competitive. CJRB has done excellent with their pricing. And if it was anybody else other than CJRB, I guarantee Civivi would charge you $75 for this knife. For that reason, I have to give one more point to the CJRB Caldera, making the Caldera the winner of today's battle. Now, I mean it when I say all this about the Caldera, guys. This is a fantastic, fantastic knife, and it's a knife that I'm keeping, and it's rare that I keep a budget knife anymore these days that like speaks to me. This one spoke to me. I felt a bunch of Civivis, and the only one that spoke to me as of recent was the Cogent. But this one actually really speaks to me. I love this knife. But that doesn't take anything away from my Sheepdog, guys. The Sheepdog's a little bit, even though they look the same, as I started comparing them, I realized that they are very different in that, you know, the thickness. They feel very, very different in hand. The Sheepdog's more of an easy carry that still looks awesome and huge, while this is relatively big, and it's going to be a little bit harder to carry, but you're getting a lot of more ergonomics and better slicing power, even though they're both really good slicers. It's going to take going through some cardboard to be like, oh, that's what we're talking about there, right? And the 154 CM versus the AR RPM 9, I mean, kind of tit for tat, you know. The average guy won't be able to tell the difference. The guy like Jared Neves, you know, maybe he might be able to tell if he just had two blank slates. But everybody else, we'd just be kind of looking at it like, these are pretty good. Both of these knives are excellent. Both of these knives are under $100, and both of these knives are staying in my collection. I love them. That's all I got for you guys today. You guys stay sharp, stay safe. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more battles, let me know, because I kind of got away from doing them, but these two, I kind of had to get it done. Have a great day, guys.